What's up, guys? It's Rayvon from Lola. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making the Lovina bag by Cee Jay Creatives. I am so excited about this bag because it is such a trendy bag. I've been seeing it on celebrities. Everybody's wearing it. And I've been wanting to make one for years, but I can never find a pattern. So thank you, Cee Jay, for designing this. As usual, you can find a link for the pattern and everything that I used in this video down below. All right, guys, if you're ready, let's get started. For my handle, the piece that has the tapered ends, I'm going to be interfacing it, but first I cut a piece of stabilizer. I cut it 1/2 inch by 9 inches. I'm going to place that right down the center. And then I'm going to cover it up with some stabilizer and get that fused together. Just because I like my handles to be super stiff, so that stabilizer will stop it from moving around too much. Go ahead and apply interfacing all the way to the tip of that handle. I actually recommend putting 2 layers of interfacing because I just didn't like the way that it was bending once I had it attached. Also, I did apply two layers of Emmeline's heavy stabilizer to the back of the handle side that's going to be going on top. All right, guys, you can measure in and mark 1.5 inch from the sides, but that's basically where it tapers in. So we're going to just run that through, and you want the bridge of your anchor to be where right where it tapers in. Once you pull it around, we're going to pin it and repeat to the other side. Now we're going to take the top piece or the bottom piece and lay it right on top where that curve ends. I'm going to scoot mine down a little bit so that the corners can match up. Okay, now we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch around the entire thing, getting, going down and getting as close as you can get to the connector right there. And then back around. If you don't want to top stitch, if you don't want to back stitch at the beginning and the end, just leave your string long at the beginning and the end so that you can pull it through and tie it on the bottom so it doesn't show. All right, guys, so go ahead and get your pieces interfaced according to the instructions. I am going to just be interfacing my front panel piece and also my main panel piece because I'm using vinyl for both my lining and my exterior. So because I'm using such thick pieces of fabric, I don't feel like I need to interface all of them. But I do want to interface my main panel because we're going to be attaching a handle to that. So I want a little bit of sturdiness for that. Okay, and the way I'm interfacing my main panel is I cut out a little piece of stabilizer and I cut that out 9 inches by, and I cut that out 7 inches by 2 inches. And then I just use my main panel to find the area where the handle is going to be. And I'm going to just center that right there. Then on top of that, I'm going to place a piece of foam because that's the feel that I want for my main panel. I want a little bit of that sturdiness, but not as much as a stabilizer. So I'm going to use foam. And I cut my foam by... I cut my foam 15 inches by 7 inches, and I am just going to eyeball it and center it about right there. And then I'm going to take my interfacing and place it right over all of that. And then I'm going to go over and get it. I'm going to go over to my heating machine. Why can't I talk? I'm going to go over to my heating press machine and get this fused together. I am making sure that none of my interfacing is going all the way to the end because we're going to be having a lot of exposed edges. So I don't want any interfacing peeping out. Same thing for my front panel. My interfacing does not go all the way to the end. Use your pattern to find the markings for where you need to install the male part of your snap and also the hardware for your handle and get both of those installed. Just ignore the fact that my handle hardware isn't installed yet. It's okay. I decided to do it later. It really doesn't matter at what point you add it. So just ignore that. Take your piece I and lay it right side facing down with the main panel right side facing up on the side that's closest to your magnetic snap. And we're going to sew that together at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Apply double-sided tape to the seam that we just finished. Push your lining towards it and press down. Set this piece aside for now. Grab all of your side panels and all of your side panel linings. You're going to line them up from the top. If you like, you can use double-sided tape for this process as well. Make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. Pin it. Repeat to all 4 pieces. Just a reminder, all of these panels, they are wrong sides touching each other. Now we're going to head over to the machine and we're going to top stitch across the top of each one at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. All right, we can set these aside for now. Grab your bottom lining and also your bottom exterior pieces using double-sided tape, or if you want to use some kind of fabric, glue, whatever you have. We are going to get these two fused together, wrong sides touching. Grab one of your bottom pieces. Your lining should be facing up. Grab one of your side pieces and your lining piece should be facing down. And you're basically going to line up this point and this edge. Go ahead and pin it. We're going to go and sew these two pieces together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance right there. And we're going to start 1/8 of an inch before that little nook. And we're going to end 1/8 of an inch after that nook. Make sure that you back stitch at the beginning and the end. You're going to do the same thing to the other side. So your bottom piece is still lining side up. You're grabbing another piece. You want your lining facing down. So your bottom piece is lining side up and your side piece is lining side down. And repeat the same thing to your other base piece and your two side pieces. Once you have them all pinned, go and sew those 4 corners together the way I just described. All right, we can put these aside. Grab your inner pocket piece. I've gone ahead and put double-sided tape on the wrong side along the top and the bottom. All right, I'm going to lay my zipper down. It's opening to the right, closing to the left. And then I'm going to lay this panel right on top, my divider panel. And I'm going to try my best to get the zipper right down the center. All right, and now we're going to go and top stitch around the entire thing as close as we can to the zipper. Fold it in half at the zipper. And now we're going to go and top stitch 1/4 of an inch in from the short part. So not 1/4 inch from here. It's going to be 1/4 in from here. Down both sides. Also, go ahead and baste the bottom together as well. Grab your front panel lining and your front panel exterior pieces. Place them wrong sides together. So we want it so that the correct side is on both sides facing out. We're going to clip it together and sew it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And place it so that your lining is facing up And then grab one of these gussets that we worked on, the side pieces that we sewed to the bottom. That's our gusset. And we're going to lay it lining side facing down. But first, find the midpoint of both of these pieces. So I'm looking for the mid piece of my base. Now, I'm not going to lie. I did have a couple of my edges slip and I had to go back and re-sew over some parts. So if I can go back in time, I probably would go ahead and use double-sided tape along all of my edges because we're sewing at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and there's a lot of layers. So it's easy for things to start moving around. I'm going to mark in 1 inch from the bottom corner on both sides. And I'm marking in not from this edge out here. I'm marking in from the edge of the bottom panel. 1 inch in from the bottom panel. Okay, so now we're going to sew down at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down the side. And then we're going to pivot also at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and sew to that mark that we just made. That's going to be 1 inch. And when we sew that corner, we are catching this little piece right here. This little piece right there. We are catching that, okay? And then we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side, sewing down a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, pivot down to that inch mark. Lay your front panel so that your lining is facing up. Grab that divider that you made. Starting at the bottom corner, match your divider up with your gusset that you just added. And we need to be lining these up as specific as we can because we're only sewing at 1/8 of an inch, so there's really no room for error. And I'm going to pin it. Okay. Now we're going to grab our other gusset. And we want our lining facing down. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line up my outer edges. Pin it. Okay, now I'm going to go and try to line my bottom up as best as possible. All right. Okay, and now we're going to top stitch from one end down all the way back around and up to the other side. So no gap this time. All the way around the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Take your main panel and fold it so that wrong sides are touching. And pin it all the way around. Once I have bent my main panel in half and pinned it together, I'm going to place it so that my lining is right side facing up. I'm going to grab the panel that we just worked on, and that open gusset, we're going to place it where the lining is facing down. So the lining of the gusset that's unattached in the back is going to face down and touch the lining from the main panel. Again, I'm going to start at my bottom corner, lining those up. Keeping all of our panels as lined up as best as possible. It can get tricky. Again, double-sided tape is your friend. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay. Now we're going to get the bottom gusset attached to the main panel. So I'm just going to just kind of play around with it. Get it centered as best as I can. And pin it. Okay, so now we are going to go and stitch. Start at the top right of the flap. Continue stitching down the side, pivot, down the bottom, and up 1 inch, stopping with a back stitch. Then stitch from the top left corner of the flap down 1 inch past where the gusset is added. So you're going to be leaving that 4-inch gap right there so that you can add stabilizer. I already added stabilizer in mine in the beginning. I did foam, so I don't need to do that. But if you're going to be adding stabilizer at this point, then leave that 4-inch gap on the side so you can insert it. We're also going to be inserting stabilizer through this front panel that we left the bottom open as well. If you would like to get a a label added to your bag, this is a good time to do that. So I'm going to grab mine really quick. So I want to place my label 1.5 inches up from the bottom of the flap and centered. I actually think I am going to add another piece of stabilizer. I want this to be a little bit sturdier. Okay, so now I'm going to reach in through the opening that I have. And I'm going to put that stabilizer, I'm going to scoot it down to the bottom. Okay. All right, perfect. Oh yeah, that feels better already. Okay. And I'm just scooting it all the way down, and it's back here. Okay. Perfect. Now I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to stick it in this front panel. Perfect. That feels really good, actually. At this point, go ahead and grab your front panel pattern piece and mark where you need to put the female part of your magnetic snap. All right, make sure that you reach through and you catch that stabilizer when you make this insertion. Okay, now I'm gonna go and close up my side piece, and I'm also gonna close up my bottom. Okay guys, this is the most tedious part of making this bag, the edge coat process. If you've never used edge coat before, I suggest that you go ahead and get online, Google, go to YouTube, and watch some videos, read some articles about the process. For the look I achieved today, I used Giardini, and I applied 2 coats of the base coat Dense, followed by 2 coats of the edge paint. I like to plan my edge coating where I can do my first 2 layers at night at the end of the day, and then the next 2 the next morning. I'll put a link under my video of where I purchased my edge coat from. Okay guys, so I decided that I wanted to use chain for my purse, but I also wanted a little bit of color. So what I did was I cut 2 little strips of my vinyl. I cut them by 1/4 of an inch because my chain isn't that big. And now I am going to use a little bit of glue to attach these to each other. Okay, and now I am going to begin the process of running this through my chain. I leave about 1 inch out so that I'll be able to fold it back through later. Okay. And now I'm just going to run it up and down through my chain until I make it all the way to the end. Try your best to keep the chain from twisting as you do it. All right, I've decided that I want to make a tassel. So what I did was, there's no measurements. You can adjust this. I literally just cut this piece of scrap without even measuring it. But just to give you an idea, it is roughly, because I want this to be an oversized tassel. This is roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 inches. So I cut that into a square, and then I cut a little piece over here about 1/4 of an inch because I'm going to be attaching it to my swivel hook. That isn't that big. I guess I could have done 1/2 inch. So just whatever you're connecting it to, you want it to be the correct size for that. So I've gone about halfway down, maybe a little bit shorter than halfway, and cut that last piece. And then from there, I measured down about 3/4 of an inch. And then I just started cutting tassels. I drew a line so that I knew where to stop. Now I'm going to grab some double-sided tape and place it along this top piece and also along this piece on the end that we cut. All right. I'm going to run this through my swivel hook. It's going to try to stick because of the tape, but we got it. And I'm going to bend that piece up to the line that we drew earlier. And then pull my swivel hook down. Definitely could have made that thicker. It's all good. Okay, and now we are going to turn it this way and fold this up like that. And now we're just going to roll it. I've got that double-sided tape there, but I'm also going to add just a little bit of glue for reinforcement. Now, if you didn't do this too thick, what I usually do is stick a rivet right through the middle, but I'm going pretty thick with this one, so I don't know if my rivet is going to be able to reach all the way through. So because of the fact that I might not have a rivet, that's why I'm going to reinforce it with some glue. While I'm waiting for my glue gun to get hot, I'm going to go over my chain. So what I did was when I got to the very end of the chain, okay, I just used some pliers to open up the very last chain, and then I placed a swivel hook on it. The fabric, I just took it and bent it back up through the chain, and I've never had a problem with it just doing it that way. If you want to secure it extra, you're more than welcome to grab a needle and thread and do a few stitches. But like I said, I've never had a problem with it coming out. Okay, so I did that to both ends, and now I have my two-toned strap. I did pink on one side and orange on the other just to match my bag. All right, I think we're good. So I'm just going to place a little bit of glue. As we continue to go around. All right, and there we go. I love little things that you can do to bling up a bag to just really take it to the next level. So cool. All right, let's get everything attached. I've also gotten my hardware attached. Now, there is a plethora of hardware to choose from. So just get online, search around, and find something that you like. Or, you know, I basically had this in my stash. So dig through your stash if you have one. Yeah, and just pick whatever you are in the mood for and get that attached. I also found these little corners that I've had forever and never used. So I was like, why not throw that on there too? So that's what I did. I like these because, like I said, I don't feel like my edge coat is perfect. And so I feel like it takes away the focal point from those corners that I was not in love with anyway. Oh, I see a little part that I missed. And the thing about this edge coat, guys, as soon as you make a mistake, you have to wipe it, because if not, it's permanent. It's not going anywhere. It's done. So that is something to consider when working with it. You know, that's the best I can do. That's all we can do, is do our best, right? Did my best. Now I'm going to start another project. It's always something waiting, huh? Oh, can't forget my tassel. So cute. Let me get that on. All right, she's ready. I love it.